Hello everyone, my name is Jimmy and welcome back to the channel. In today's episode of Rippin' the Fence, we're going to be breaking down everything we saw from Talladega Super Speedway. But before we hop into the video, I just want to quickly remind you guys hit that like button and subscribe button. We would greatly appreciate it if you guys did that. You can also check out our social media pages, those will be linked down below. But let's go ahead and hop into it. Matthew, my friend and co-host, is joining me as always, repping his Jordan Brand shirt. You guys can't really see mine, so I'll stand up real quick so you can see it. I got Tyler Reddick UNC shirt on real quick, repping the guy that ended up winning the race today. Always love seeing that Jordan car on the racetrack. But anyways, Matthew, how are you doing before we go ahead and quickly hop into the video?
Well, I'm doing good after what was another amazing race weekend at Talladega. We always expect those races to go crazy and did not disappoint. And before we get into it though, we always got any new diecast that comes into our collection. We like to show it off. So let me just begin. This is the Kyle Busch 2023 Pocono win, aka his 100th win for Cowboys Motorsports, and also the final Cowboys Motorsport win. Nothing too much, nothing too crazy here, but I mean, this is special. This is just a special win, just because 100 wins for the best truck series team ever, um, and also the final one. So it's still sad that Cowboys Motorsports is gone, but at least I was able to get the final one, and so glad I got that. And yeah, let's get right into it.
So I have something coming in the mail in the next few days. You guys are gonna have to stay tuned, obviously, because I don't have it in hand yet. But I do have something to show off in the next few days, and I don't think Matthew's officially shown off his on like the podcast version. I know we did in the vlog, but maybe he'll have to show his too, just to remind you guys what we have. But stay tuned for that. Hopefully by the next video, I can show you guys that. But it is something pretty cool coming in the mail. But yeah, let's go ahead and hop into Talladega. And Matthew said like exciting and all of that about Talladega. That was not the case for the ARCA race. That was the complete opposite, complete 180. We usually expect ARCA to be quote unquote the worst as far as, craziness and wrecks and all that stuff go, but literally the winner led every single lap of the race. And there was only one caution, and it was for a competition caution. And they literally almost finished single file too, like fifth or sixth place tried to make a move and nobody went with him on the final lap, and it was like they just ran like a 3 hour practice session for like 60 laps or 70 laps. That's literally what it looked like. So that was a interesting start to the weekend, to say the least. um, and then Xfinity, Jesse Love ended up getting his first career win, so shout out to him. Austin Hill has finally been defeated on these drafting tracks in 2024. But Talladega has actually been the track that has been the worst for him as far as these drafting tracks. He hasn't gotten a win yet. It's been mostly Daytona and Atlanta where he's been good. Um, but yeah, shout out to Jesse Love. Great win for him, first career win. I love the interview he did too. He's a very good guy, very nice kid. Obviously mentioned Jesus, and I always love when young kids do that in their winning interviews. But yeah, let's go ahead and hop into the Cup Series race. Before the race started, Kyle Larson got a penalty for violation for the roof of the car, or the roof rail, so he had to start at the rear and then he had to do a pass through penalty, so he went down a lap. Um, there were several different names at the front of the field early in this race, including none other than the GOAT himself, BJ McLeod. He actually was in the lead. He might have even led a lap. Like, he might have had
Oh
credit
yeah,
for
he
leading
I
a
think
lap
he led
today.
a couple laps.
We'll have to fact check that. But BJ McLeod was at the front. Daniel Hemrick was up at the front for a bit. Cody Ware, I think, was in the top five at some point. So, literally, anybody and everybody was at the front of the field today. Mike Joy said at the start of the broadcast that there were like 30 out of the 36 drivers or 38 drivers that could have won today. Honestly, you could have said all 38, because all of them were at the front of the field, even the slower cars like BJ McLeod. But yeah, that was cool to see a bunch of different names at the front of the field. There were some green flag pit stops in stage one. Denny Hamlin ended up spinning out as he came down pit road. They were saying that there was a little bit of water on the giant apron of the racetrack that is Talladega Superspeedway. So I guess he slipped over that real quick and spun the car out. And then Corey LaJoie, I think, also had a similar issue exiting pit road. He hit a wet spot on the apron and spun out as well. So that was a little bit of an issue today, the wet spots on the racetrack. But stage one ended up going to Austin Cindric. He ended up beating Chase Elliott by a fender to win the first stage, and Kyle Larson would get his lap back at the end of the first stage. In stage two, Joey Logano threw a very, very aggressive block, and Chris Buescher had to swerve out of the way to the left to avoid him. So we always know how Joey Logano is on these super speedways, and there he goes again, just throwing these really, really aggressive blocks. And the runs with these next gen cars are so powerful, and they were just coming up to speed after pitting as well. And Buescher had a full head of steam. Logano just slid right in front of him and almost caused a wreck right there, but they moved on. Uh, but that was a beneficial move for Logano though, because he ended up winning the second stage. He ended up keeping that track position up at the front of the field. In stage three, there was a wreck on the backstretch. There was a really big checkup, and Justin Haley started checking up, and Chase Elliott got into the back of him, sent him to the left, and collected Christopher Bell, who had a pretty big impact to the outside wall, ended his day. Ryan Blaney, he got some minor damage from Zane Smith, and Chase Briscoe ended up spinning on his own, but was able to continue. And then the Toyotas, I don't want to say choked because one ended up winning, but most of the Toyotas ended up choking in stage three. They pitted and they were trying to run as fast as they could because there was only 6 or 7 of them. And when you have cars that are really tight, compact like that together, bumper to bumper, they can try to make up a lot of speed. And they were just trying too hard, and they went into turn three and ended up wrecking. Bubba Wallace ended up barely touching Eric Jones, got him loose, shot Eric Jones up the racetrack into the outside wall really hard. Nemechek was trying to avoid it. He came down, he collected Denny Hamlin, so both of them were involved in the wreck. But Tyler Reddick was ahead of it, and then Truex and Gibbs, they made it through. So those are the only 3 Toyotas left after that incident. And I also want to quickly mention Eric Jones was released from the care center, did an interview, ended up going back to the care center and ended up taken to a hospital for further evaluation. Apparently, he was complaining about his back. So, all the thoughts and prayers and well wishes to Eric Jones. Hopefully, he is okay and he'll be able to come back next week. But yeah, it was a miracle he got out of that race car, at least somewhat under his own power the first time, because that was a very hard impact. Anytime I see a car turn right and hit the outside wall, I get Dale Earnhardt PTSD every single time, just because that's the crash that killed him. And seeing any kind of impact in that kind of way is just very scary. Uh, Shows how safety has come a long way in NASCAR. But yeah, hope he is okay and can come back to the track next week. But after that, it was green flag for the rest of the way. The Fords, they made their way up to the front once again. McDowell, Keselowski, and Noah Gragson were on the bottom lane, and the top lane had Tyler Reddick, Martin Truex Jr., Ty Gibbs, and a few other Fords behind them. And it was just those 2 lanes, the bottom lane and the middle lane, just kind of going back and forth like that. McDowell was trying to control both of them at different points in the run, but the white flag ended up flying. McDowell is still controlling both lanes. They go through turn 3. Brad Keselowski gives Michael McDowell a huge push through the corner and off of turn 4. And Keselowski clears himself and he tries to make a move to the top. McDowell throws a block up there, and then Keselowski tries to come back to the bottom. He's clear. McDowell comes back down, tries to block him there, and Michael McDowell ends up getting loose, ends up swerving back to the right, gets loose, spins out, comes back up in front of the field. Big crash as they come to the checkered flag, but Tyler Reddick had a great run, sneaks past Brad Keselowski, ends up getting the win. So huge congratulations to Tyler Reddick for getting the win at Talladega. Let me quickly go over the race results with you guys as I pull them up on my phone. Give me 1 second. And Tyler Reddick, obviously getting the win. Brad Keselowski second. Another heartbreak for Brad Keselowski. He just cannot catch a break with these races. Um, he's going to get his win eventually. It's been a while. Almost snapped that winless streak today. Noah Gragson third. He was up there for most of the day. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. fourth. Alex Bowman fifth. Anthony Alfredo sixth. Always love seeing the Beard Motorsports car get a good run. So very happy for them in that small team. Todd Gilliland 8th, Daniel Hemrick 9th, Harrison Burton rounds out the top 10. So now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about the race winner, Tyler Reddick, who, once again, 2311 gets a win with the Jordan brand on the car. Kurt Busch was the first one to do it with the black cement kind of scheme, and now Tyler Reddick does it with this white and black car. And apparently, this is the first race Michael Jordan was in attendance for a win. They have, I think, 6 wins now, and Michael Jordan hasn't been in attendance for any of them. Denny Hamlin was joking that it was a curse for him to be at the racetrack. So, pretty crazy that it took 2311 this long to get a win with Michael Jordan in attendance. They ended up interviewing him, interviewing Denny Hamlin. So it's really cool to see that. And anytime we get any kind of big name that's not outside of NASCAR, but is famous outside of NASCAR, like a Michael Jordan, like a Pitbull, like any of these big names, DJ Khaled even for the Daytona 500. Anytime we get some of these big names that come into NASCAR from that a lot of people recognize, it's a good thing. And when one of them wins, like Michael Jordan, hopefully this will be all over social media, like ESPN, Bleacher Report, maybe even NBA people will know about it and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully this kind of spreads the publicity about NASCAR with Michael Jordan getting the win as a team owner. Um, I'm going to briefly touch on this because Matthew is probably going to rant on it more than I am, but the broadcast on TV today was absolutely terrible. And by terrible, I mean in the first stage there were several commercials, several back to back from each other. It seemed like we had a commercial, we had green flag racing for like 5 laps, and then poof, right back to another commercial. And full screen commercials, I might add, not even side by side. So a full screen commercial, racing for like 10 laps, another full screen commercial. And then the worst thing that happened that everybody seems to be raving about is there was a commercial with like 5 laps to go in stage 2, right when things were getting interesting. They just go, what? And another full screen commercial at the end of stage 2, which is an important part of the race, where drivers are competing for playoff points and stage points, and when the racing is going to be the most aggressive at the end of these stages. And Fox just goes, here's a full screen commercial. Not even, I wouldn't even have complained if it was side by side. I mean, I probably would have, but not as much. I wouldn't come on this video and be like, oh, they shouldn't have done a side by side commercial. The fact it wasn't side by side is just incredible. Like, I just cannot believe that. Um, I will somewhat admit that in the finals, like, they did get the commercials out of the way early in the race, so that the end of the race it was better. But there's got to be some kind of balance to make this somewhat better, because front loading all these commercials is not good, especially when you're trying to attract people into the sport and you're promoting the heck out of all these races coming up. And the people that watch the first stage or two are going to be like, darn, there's so many commercials in these races. I don't want to deal with this. I'm going to watch something else. So it's very important to capture that audience in the beginning of the race, not with all these commercials. So yeah, that was rough. And then something else, the crash at the end of the race. They showed the angle of them coming to the checkered flag. You could see it going on in the background. But after the checkered flag flew, they just put the car on like Tyler Reddick and Michael Jordan and the 2311 crew and Michael McDowell's crew and all that kind of stuff, which I get is important. But at the same time, when there's literally a car almost upside down coming across the start finish line and you don't capture that, that's a problem. And then it took them like 5-10 minutes to even show a somewhat decent replay of the wreck. And yeah, it was a mess. That's all I'll really say about that. Fox broadcast was not good at all. Definitely need improvement. Can't wait for NBC to come later in the year. And last thing I want to talk about quickly is the racing on the racetrack. The Super Speedway package. I think this next gen package does need a little bit of work. There was talk about this whole, oh, they weren't really racing that hard because they were fuel saving. And honestly, this might be a hot take, but I feel like that was probably the most fun part of the race when they were three wide, fuel saving. Honestly, because that third lane was able to work. You could have people that wanted to gain track position move up to that third lane, push hard for a few laps, and maintain a three wide pack. Because I would much rather see three wide racing while they're fuel saving compared to a single file line around the top fuel saving. So at least we got some three wide racing. And then at the end of the race, it was just those two lanes, the bottom lane and the middle lane, that were really just doing this the whole time, just going back and forth. And like at the end of these super speedway races, you need track position, or you do not stand a chance, because once these cars get full throttle and they're actually pushing to the max, not saving up fuel, they cannot get that third lane working, at least for Talladega, because if you guys remember Chase Elliott's win in 2022 when he was racing with, I think it was Ryan Blaney, it was just those two just going back and forth in those two lanes. And then last year when Ryan Blaney beat Kevin Harvick, it was just those two lanes kind of going back and forth like that. They just cannot get that third lane moving. Um, and it's really hard to make up some track position late in the race unless there's some kind of caution. So Kyle Busch said it best. I sent Matthew the screenshot of Kyle Busch's tweet. He basically said, if you run in line, that's where you're going to finish. And if you try to go for the win, you go all the way to the back. Because the outside, the very top lane, they were getting some momentum. They were coming. Chase Elliott was up there. He gave Shane Van Gisbergen some really good pushes to get him up to the front. Kyle Busch slid up in front of him, I believe, at the time, and they were still making some progress going for the front. And then Ty Gibbs just, Kyle Busch was coming. He threw a really late block up there. Kyle Busch had to lift, and that just killed the top lane. Like, they got probably 4 or 5 rows up to the front, and then with that move, that just killed the top and just destroyed it. So, like Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch, Ty Gibbs, they all dropped like a rock all the way to the back of the pack. So, I'm not really sure what NASCAR can do about the super speedway racing package. It's okay. Like if you're in the first few rows, it can be entertaining, but you just cannot make that third lane work when drivers are full throttle and trying to push at the end of the race. Um, but yeah, I think that's really all I have to say about the race. Matthew, what do you have to say about what you saw from Talladega this weekend?
All right. That is a lot to that's a lot of stuff that happened. Um, but first and foremost, I want to congratulate Tyler Reddick, 2311 Racing, on the first win this season for them. And that amazing looking Jordan brand car. Anytime I see that Jordan car on the track, it just makes me happy because I love their Jordan paint schemes. As you can tell, I'm wearing all the Jordan stuff, even like the shoes as well, like this one. Yep, got not too long ago. I love the Jordan stuff, and seeing that car on track is always amazing, and it's even better when that car is in victory lane. And it was just so cool seeing Michael Jordan there in victory lane. I mean, that is very important to this sport. I feel like that's a special moment for this sport, and I feel like the media should be marketing this more about Michael Jordan and these Jordan brand cars going to victory lane and all that. I feel like it will definitely help getting newer audiences into the sport, seeing Michael Jordan there, and today absolutely helped with that. I certainly would wish the media would prefer doing that over, marketing somebody else because of a famous last name, but we won't get into that. But anyways, congrats to Tyler Reddick um, for the first win for his first win of the season, and I think he'll be getting more wins toward the end of this season. I would go down to the running order, but we got a lot to talk about here, so I'll move on to the first point. Fox, Fox Sports. Woo. Where do I even start? Where do I even start? Look, I all year I don't complain about the commercials. I don't complain about these commercials so far this year. because I know I mean, they have to get it in. I mean, that's how they make their money, and I understand it's a business, and I don't really complain about it. But for some reason today, this was like a whole nother level. I mean, the first stage, I think there were six full screen commercials, six of them in the first stage. Look, I get that the first half of the race, nothing much is going to happen because these drivers are not trying to wreck each other the very beginning of the race. But still, you got a lot of the people that tune in are going to tune in at the start of the race for the most part. And that's not going to leave a good impression if you're going 6 laps, already 6 laps in. Oh, full screen commercial. Let's get 5 laps in, full screen commercial. Okay, 6 more laps. It repeat. That's just not a good first impression for someone that's trying to watch a race here, especially in this time where I mean, just let's just compare this. Imagine the NBA is the playoffs right now. Imagine during the playoffs, like you got. I mean, it's a close game, and someone is shooting a three, and they're like, "Oh, we gotta go to commercial, full screen commercial," and we don't know what's going on in the game for the next, 3 minutes or so, and we turn back in as like a 20-point lead. Imagine that, and of course, and I thought the stage breaks were meant to get these commercials in. I thought that's what the stage breaks were for. Turned out that was a big fat lie because we got more. We got even more commercials from that than we did back then. So it was just absolutely. And don't even get me started on that whole stage two one with 5 laps to go in the end of stage two, where everyone's trying hard and it's a full screen commercial. I'm like, goodness gracious. I'm about to lose my mind when that happened. I, oh man, you saw my text, Jimmy. I was losing. I went crazy when I saw it. They did not just did that. They did not just do that. Um. So yeah, the commercials for some reason today they were just absolutely outrageous. Um. And then even the booth today, like that the last lap finish. There, I mean, Mike Joy, God bless him. He's doing everything. He's doing everything that he can to get the energy up. And too bad he's the only one that's really trying. Um, Clint Boyer, I think it's time for him. I think we need to get him out of the booth. I mean, I'm sorry, he's not working. He's not working for me, at least in my opinion. I mean, there was literally a big crash, and Clint Boyer's talking about something, and it's like he's like talking in a library. He's not even talking like he's at a racetrack. He's talking like he's in a library or something. It's just no energy besides Mike Joy. Um, and also the horrible camera angles, like always, like especially that last lap crash. We can literally see the distance. There's a car upside down, and we don't even know who it was for like 10 minutes. Like I get that we gotta talk to the winner and all that, but can you at least say who was the guy that was? I didn't even know it was Corey LaJoy the whole time. I mean, it could have been anyone. It could have been Kyle Busch, and I would have known. And I mean, come on, this Cup Fox is just giving me a big headache, and I'm just ready for NBC. Even though NBC is not gonna have Dale Jr., I don't care. They're still gonna be better than Fox, and I still can't believe we're gonna have 7 more years with this company that clearly does not care about motorsport or NASCAR. They don't care. They just care about that money. Basically, they don't really care. And yeah, that, that's all I'm gonna say. On to the next subject, or to the last point about the fuel saving. And to be honest, look, I have zero problems when it comes to fuel saving. In fact, I actually liked it because I mean, what do you want? You want them to be three wide the whole time while fuel saving, or you want to be in a slow single file train like the Xfinity series normally does sometimes? And you got to keep in mind here, I feel like a lot of these people have these high expectations, especially after what happened in Atlanta, where we had some of the best racing like the whole time, four wide, passing for the lead. It's not going to be like that. I'm sorry. It's just not. And especially in the race when it's like 188 laps, you're not going to see these people going, full wide passing and all in lap 15. They're just not. These teams don't want to do that because, I mean, let's take an example the 2021 Daytona 500. There were three wide at the very beginning, and then most of them ranked down like lap 15. And guess what happened after that? They went single file the whole race until the last lap. So you can choose. You can have three wide fuel saving or a single file line the whole time, or you can ask them to be aggressive the beginning, but they all wreck out and they'll be single file again. So it's your call, but for me, I have no problem with the fuel saving, and I actually it does, at least it is something that the drivers have control, which is something you don't have in super speedway racing at all. A lot of it is none of their control. But with fuel saving, that's something that they can control, and we can see which drivers save more and which drivers are running out of fuel. So I mean, I have no problem with it. That's just my opinion. But other than that, I thought this was a very good race. And yeah, congrats to Tyler Reddick and once again. And yeah, my main frustrations was just the coverage. It was awful.
All right, let's quickly rate the race and do our paint scheme of the race as well. For me, I think I'm going to give the race just a solid 7 out of 10. And then for my paint scheme of the race, I'm going to do an honorable mention here because I loved how creative this was. But SVG, he did the Xfinity and the Cup series, and he did Wendy's as a sponsor for both the Xfinity car and the Cup car. The Xfinity car was blue. It was more of that frosty car, and then the red car was like fries. And Wendy's had this whole activation for the whole weekend about your fry something. I can't remember what it was called. Something like that. A combination of fries and frosty, and it was a whole activation thing. And I thought they did a really good job with it. It was really cool how they collabed and did two different paint schemes for Xfinity and Cup. But my actual favorite paint scheme of the race is going to be the car that parked it in Victory Lane, Tyler Reddick's Jordan car. Matthew and I, we both love Jordan shoes, apparel, all that stuff, and absolutely love to see it on a race car. So that's gonna be my paint scheme of the race. Matthew, what are you going to rate the race, and then what was your favorite paint scheme?
Well, for me, I'm going to go with a 7 out of 10 as well. I thought this was a very good race. Like I said, the fuel strategy thing didn't bother me at all. Maybe it went a little bit too excessive, but it didn't really bother me too much. And then, of course, crazy last lap finish like we normally have at Talladega. So 7 out of 10. And then as for my paint scheme in the race, man, this was tough. Of course, there were so many good paint schemes this weekend, I'll say. And of course, I'm extremely biased when it comes to Jordan cars. You know that. But man, I'm sorry. I have to go with SVG's Wendy's car. I mean, my goodness. Ever since I saw this paint scheme drop, I'm like, whew, look at it. Let me talk about fire right there. Literally, blue flames with red, the French fries on the side. Man, I that's my paint scheme of the week. I mean, just amazing.
I'm glad you picked it since I did the honorable mention there with the Xfinity and the Cup car. But yeah, those are our paint schemes of the race and our ratings of the race. Let Oh yeah, closing thoughts. Matthew, do you have anything else to say? We'll go ahead and finish this video up.
I was going to talk about the ARCA race, but he brought up at the very beginning, so I don't have anything else.
All right. Well, that is going to wrap it up for this video. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope hopefully you enjoyed the video. Let us know your thoughts and comments about everything you saw from Talladega this past weekend. But until the next time, we will see you guys in the next video.